Zach Parker versus Tyron Zeuge. 10 rounds in the 175-pound division. Let's get into it. Let's start with Parker. 23 wins, 1 loss, 17 wins by way of knockout. There was a lot of momentum building around Zach Parker's career. In his first 16 fights, he stopped 11 of his opponents. In his first 12-round fight against Darrell Williams, he got a split decision win to win the British super middleweight title. So things were moving in a forward direction in his favor. That was a point where he was starting to get to that crossover step up level to see where he was going to fare from a domestic level, and then he goes on to the global level. After that, he went on to stop his next 5 opponents, including a tough, durable fighter in Rohan Murdoch. Then he stepped into the ring to face John Ryder. And again, as we talked about step up fights, this was going to be that test for him to see where exactly he was in the map on that category, because the winner of this fight would go on to fight Canelo Alvarez. And I've talked about this fight before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but Parker was doing well early in the fight. Using his size, using his reach, trying to keep the fight on the outside. He does a good job of keeping the distance, right? Had a few good body shots, a few really nice head shots, nice jab from Parker. Parker has a bunch of upside, man, and he's talented and he's got physical attributes that work to his advantage. It seemed like he was gathering some rhythm and started to find his momentum. I liked what I was seeing from the early part of the fight. But what I noticed, and I'm sure that you saw it too, was whenever Ryder was imposing his physical presence and being more of the physical fighter, Parker would almost retreat, right? It's like he didn't want any parts of that physical fight. Right? He was pulling his head back with his hands down, and Ryder was catching him with the left hand or the right hand, almost like every time that he did that. And it seemed like momentum was starting to switch, especially after that 4th round, where it seemed like, man, Ryder, he figured it out. Like he figured out what he was doing and how he was going to win this fight, and momentum was starting to sway. And so from rounds 5 and on was going to be very interesting. And I was like, man, Parker has to make some adjustments because Ryder is catching on to the game plan and what he's trying to do. And then the fight came to a stop. I didn't really know what the injury was. I've heard that it was a hand injury. I heard that it was a jaw injury. I'm not fully sure, but those are the 2 things that I've been seeing consistently. And so it was just strange to see that, man, because it was going to be that litmus test for him. John Ryder is a proven fighter, a great domestic fighter, and a good world level fighter. And he's very tough and he's very durable. And it was going to be a great test. And it was a test that I'm not sure if he passed, and I'm not sure that he failed that test. It just makes you think, right? Because we know it takes a certain level of toughness and grit to be able to get into the boxing ring. We saw guys fight with broken jaw. We've seen guys fight with big cuts underneath their eyes, gash cut in the middle. We've seen guys fight with broken hand, dislocated shoulders. We've seen certain things that make you see how bad that you really want it. I'm not saying that his team made the wrong decision. You obviously have to look out for your fighter. It's what you're supposed to do. It's the job of the corner. But if I'm seeing that and I'm on the opposing side and I'm seeing, man, this guy doesn't like it when the going gets tough, the physical side of things, I'm going to put that into my game plan and really going to not just test you physically, but I'm going to tap into you mentally and try and break you. Because as I said, Parker physically has a lot of great attributes, man. He's strong. He's got good power. He's got good size. He controls the range well, good jab, good combination puncher. He's able to slip in and slip out. I don't think he's the slickest fighter, but man, he does move and maneuver well from in close inside the ring. Defensively, there are some lapses and mistakes that he does, but stuff that he can improve on. But when you look at the tape and you see him fight, the talent is there. In his most recent fight, he fought Khalid Gradia, and he looked good, right? Coming off of the hand injury or jaw injury, he looked good. Good combinations, smooth movement. He's a switch hitter. He can fight orthodox and he can fight southpaw. He did both stances in that fight. He wasn't in danger at any time, right? He was letting his hands go, slipping shots. Again, he looked good. He looked confident. He looked like it was his old self and the old Zach Parker that we are accustomed to seeing. But again, his opponent has a bunch of losses on his record. He was also, 41 years old. So You got to take that with a grain of salt. But he did punch up Gradilla, man. It was a one-sided fight. It was one of those fights where you were supposed to come back and you're supposed to look good. He needed to stop his opponent. He needed a big confidence booster, and he got that because it looked like he was having fun. It looked like he was in there doing whatever he wanted to do. It was a one-sided fight, ended up getting the stoppage. But again, there was not much resistance in that fight. So, we'll see. I'm expecting Zeuge to give him a much better fight. This could be a fight where if he's not careful, man, if he isn't up for the test, like this fight could be an upset, right? It has that potential. It could be an upset. So we'll see how it goes. Let's talk about his opponent, Tyron Zeuge. 26 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 15 wins by way of knockout. He's fought all of his fights in Germany. He's fought Giovanni De Carlio to win the WBA regular super middleweight title back in 2016. His sole loss came from when he fought Rocky Fielding in 2018. He was able to bounce back after that, won his next 2 fights, and then disappeared like magic. We haven't seen the man for a couple years. 2019, he pops back up in 2023. So what happened? I didn't do a whole bunch of research on why, didn't do in-depth research on where he went. Just seemed like he took a hiatus from the sport. Now, when he came back, he fought Michael Reba. Now, he doesn't have the greatest record. 14 wins, 10 losses, 1 draw. That's Reba's record. And in that fight, you could see Zeuge why he was successful. Some of those same things that made him a champion is still there. He can punch. He's accurate. He's got good placement in his punches, puts together good combinations. His angle changes are pretty nice. He can maneuver in the ring. He's able to create his own offense, and he's able to make it tough for you to see what shots that he's going to throw. I don't think he's particularly the biggest puncher, but he's strong enough that, man, he hits you the right way. You're going to feel his shot. He hit Reba twice with body shots that dropped him before closing out the show in the first round, with a beautiful sequence of combination punching that was accurate, changed angles, punch him to the body, punch him to the head, so he does have a lot of tools that you can see are still there that has once made him successful at that elite level, right? But I take it with a grain of salt because, again, Reba's record, man, 14, 10-1, coming back, it's a fight you're supposed to win. It's a fight you're supposed to look great in, and he definitely did. After that, he fought Nasir Bukenya, who has a record of 7 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. I couldn't find tape of that fight, but Zeuge won that fight by unanimous decision. It was a 6-round fight. His past 2 fights were 6 rounds. So when you look back at his old tapes, though, man, you see the version of him back then before we stepped away from the sport. He had a lot of great qualities. He looked leaner before he left. He looked faster, more of an imposing figure, right? You could see the hand speed was there. The quick counters were there. This version of him is slightly a little slower, a little thicker physically, doesn't move as smoothly as he once did, but he still got good footwork, man. He fights more in bursts this time around than more of a rhythmic flowing type of style before he left the sport, right? So again, he hasn't been tested in the recent years. He hasn't fought good opposition. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? This is his first 10-round fight in years. So we don't know how he's going to fare after the 6th round. When he fought Rocky Fielding, he couldn't keep up with the volume and the physicality of that fight, right? Fielding isn't a devastating power puncher like that. I don't think Parker is a big puncher like that. I think he has good pop, but I'm not going to say he has devastating power, at least to me. And I think him and Rocky Fielding are slightly around the same power output, or Parker would be a little bit more, in my opinion. And in that fight, man, once it got to the 5th round, Zeuge looked exhausted. And that's when Fielding just had a field day, no pun intended, in that round. He was able to close out the show with a body shot. It kind of looked like Zeuge just couldn't take it anymore, didn't want to keep up with that pace, right? So again, this is a step-up fight for this version of Zeuge. So we'll see how both men fare on the night. So who wins? Again, as I said, this is a very interesting fight for me. If Parker is back to looking like his old self, especially from a confidence standpoint up here, I think he can stop Zeuge. right? But I also think that Zeuge isn't going to lie down or make it easy by no means. I think Zeuge is going to test the chin and the body and the mind and make it physical for Parker. If Parker is who he thinks he is, then he's going to find a way to win this fight, right? He needs to stand his ground at times. He needs to stay on the inside and fight at times. And he needs to control the range, control the distance, and box at times. Wherever the fight needs to go, he needs to find a way to match Zeuge and not be intimidated by anything that he does. I also think he's the younger fighter. He's the more athletic fighter. And I think there's more ways for him to win this fight than Zeuge to win this fight at this stage in their career. So I think Parker can get the stoppage. Doesn't mean that he will, right? If Zeuge breaks him down mentally, like if Parker comes out and he lets his hands go and he hits Zeuge with every single thing that he's got and Zeuge's still there moving forward, man, that could mentally, take Parker out, and Zeuge could work that into his advantage. I think Zach Parker's at home. I think the safer bet is to go by decision, and I think that's what it's going to be. I like Zach Parker to win this fight by decision. I think he's going to fight a safe fight. He's going to control the range of the fight. He's going to fight on the outside, combinations when he needs to, but make sure that he gets out of range and keeps moving and not putting himself in danger. I like Zach Parker to win this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Shout out to everybody that continues to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Man, I appreciate each of you. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video, listen on, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.